And over here on the left-hand side of Atlantis Spaceship, we have our blue Zerg player from the Team Prime. Brand new player. I call him Grandpa Zerg. It's Salmosa. And his opponent at the 12 o'clock position, our red Zerg player from the Team Acer. Their ace, it's Nerchio.
Yeah, so Salmosa.Prime winning with a really, really weird build last game. That was a very strange game. I want to go back and watch that replay. I feel like there's much to be gained from that one, so it should be interesting. But what will he decide to do on this map? Obviously, it's a very large map. Nerchio, could be going for some sort of hatch first. It wouldn't be bad at all. Both players really could hatch first on this map pretty safely. Things like, the 10 pool build we saw on Antigua Shipyard wouldn't really be quite as successful. But, you never know. Again, both these guys probably have never played each other, so we're probably going to see one of them at least get for a little bit earlier pool despite the long rush distances. But where do we go from there? What is Salmosa.Prime going to show us? That's kind of what I'm really curious about, because I feel like after last game we could really see anything,
Right, and we'll see if he has something tricky up his sleeve, or if it's going to, or once again, or if it's going to be something a little more standard. There's a 14 pool out of Nerchio. We'll see what he does after that, if it's just going to be 14 gas. And back on his opponent's side of things, actually 14 pool, 15 gas from Nerchio, and it is a hatch first from Salmosa.
Yep, there we go. So
interesting choice to go 14 pool, 15 hatch. It's not going to be fastest possible Zergling speed.
Yeah.
It's going to be a little bit later Zergling speed, but yet still a one-base build for Nerchio despite the walk distance.
Well, just slightly more economical. If you do this, you're going to be able to get your Overlord out to get above 18 supply a little bit earlier. You're going to be able to presumably get your Queen and your Lings just slightly faster with this build. So that's kind of why we see some Zergs doing it. I think most would prefer to get gas first just because they want to be able to start that Zergling speed as soon as possible, but it really doesn't hurt you either way. Looks like Salmosa.Prime, though, is going to be going for some Zergling speed as quick as he possibly can, and even though he did go for hatch first, he's really not going to be all that far behind, honestly.
No, not really. So looks like Nerchio now going to take his natural. It's about 80 seconds behind his opponent at the moment. And we'll see what Salmosa wants to do from here on out. He's going to have that Zergling speed very quickly. And as we can see, it's actually going to hit about the same time that Nerchio's does. Nerchio's done for just a couple of seconds. And then this gas is going to be up to 100 very, very soon.
Yep. Yeah, it's just going to be a little bit later. The nice thing, though, for Salmosa.Prime is that he's got 2 Queens on the way already. He's got a couple Lings to defend, and they're going to pop out just in time to deal with these. Look at this. Excuse me. The Lings get to the base. The Zerglings for Salmosa pop out, and Zergling speed started not all that far behind his opponent. So,
that's right.
this is kind of the situation that you get in. If you go for hatch first and your opponent doesn't, you end up with a little bit of a lead early on. And if you can stay defensive enough, can drone effectively enough, you can gain a nice little economic boost from that, right? But Nerchio, on the other hand, is going to be thinking, all right, how can I kind of take advantage of this? Do I want to try to get in there when my Zergling speed finishes and he doesn't have it? Can I maybe try to pick off a Queen or two? Or, will it be better to just sit back, play a little bit more defensive? It all kind of depends on Nerchio's plan for this game, but he is getting a Baneling nest, so it looks like it might be the aggressive side that Nerchio decides to fall on for the CVZ.
And we see back on Salmosa's side, he never pulled any workers off of gas, so could be an indication of quick layer tech here in just a bit, or maybe something else altogether. Of course, he did bypass Banelings completely in the last game, went straight for a Roach Warren, was able to survive kind of by the skin of his teeth, if you remember. Preemptively pulled everything off of the line. For now, though, Nerchio ran to the front with a few Lings, but he is droning up quite heavily behind this, so not putting on a ton of pressure right now.
Yeah, I feel like this is going to be a more difficult map to go for Roaches right away, just because the choke is a little bit wider. Banelings can sneak past a little bit easier. So we'll see. I mean, he could still skip it as well. Like you mentioned earlier, Nesty was known for doing that type of thing. But in general, most Zergs would agree that it's too dangerous to skip Banelings, or at least getting the Baneling nest early on in a ZVZ.
And now Nerchio's starting to put out a few more lings. Needs to make sure that he's going to stay safe.
Nice little attack there.
Yeah, catches a couple of lings off guard, forces some more things that aren't drones out of his opponent, essentially. And he is going for that Roach Warren first.
Wow,
just popping up
okay.
outside of his natural. And there's gas number 2 and an evolution chamber on the way as well. A lot of gas built up right now for Salmosa. So he's probably going to need layer tech and some upgrades started pretty soon to take advantage of that.
Yep, he can get layer tech, he can get his whatever upgrade he wants, and still be able to afford a decent amount of roaches too. So Salmosa is going to be in a pretty good spot. Oh, but here comes Nerchio with some banelings, and we're going to see if this is going to hurt him or not. Oh, the banelings!
Oh my God! Already 18 workers killed, and Nerchio has just flipped this game on its head.
No kidding, man. Like the Fresh Prince getting kicked out of his hometown and going to Bel Air. His world just got flipped upside down. And will he be able to recover? That's the question. Nerchio at least evening things out in a big way.
Oh, yeah, no kidding. I mean, he's going to layer tech himself now. We do see +1 upgrade still coming up for Salmosa, but he needs to be able to do whatever it takes to catch up economically, and he just can't afford that now because Nerchio is just going to be able to mass outproduce him.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the supply lead right now. He's got the worker count. It's going to be a little bit tough. And once again, you know, no banelings. This is a perfect example of why you get banelings if you go hatch first. Zergling's just kind of chilling out.
That's right.
Maxing, relaxing, so cool. Oh, there they are. They're going back. I don't know why this suddenly becomes the
keep bouncing like for the theme the entire time.
I've got it on my mind now. But so that's the thing. I mean, yeah, you really need banelings if you go hatch first. And when I say need, I'm saying you like 99% need them. There's that 1% of games where, yeah, you can get by without it. But if you really want to play safe, if you want to play solid, you will at least build a baneling nest.
Yeah.
You know, you may not need to make any banelings, but have it there just in case, you know?
And Nerchio is indeed going down the Spire route. So we see it's just started. Gas 3 and 4 being mined off of as well. And because Nerchio started mining that gas so early, he's going to have enough for like 10 or 11 Mutalisks by the time that actually does finish up. So huge amount of error for him. And of course, Salmosa can't invest in anything but a handful of roaches.
I would say so, and he's going to go with that right now. He knows he's behind. He knows he has to do some damage, and he also knows that his opponent has stuck on speedlings for quite a while. So with that +1 weapons, his roaches are going to be very, very good against the only speedling baneling composition that Nerchio has right now. That's a ton of banelings, though. That may be enough to soften the roaches when you combine it with the spine crawlers. It's going to be pretty close, though.
All right. Well, a lot of that gas disappeared into those banelings, as we mentioned before, and he is forced to put up another 20 lings right now. 2 of the spine crawlers going down to the front right away. Banelings starting to roll in now, trying to soften up those units. As you mentioned, outright killing a good number of those roaches.
Yeah.
That was a lot of resources poured into those banelings, though, and Salmosa is able to back up now and hit his reinforcements.
Yep, reinforcements coming in. He also, I gotta say, split those roaches about as well as you can. I mean,
that's right.
Non-speed roaches, you've never seen like roach splits versus banelings, but he did a pretty admirable job here. Oh, causing a cancel the third as well.
That's
not
right.
bad.
Go ahead.
You know the funny thing about this right now?
What's that?
Is that Salmosa.Prime is playing more like Nerchio than Nerchio is right now.
That's right,
Nerchio
actually
loves to just go for mass roaches and hit different spots in ZVZ, so it's kind of ironic a little bit.
Oh, the irony.
In a certain way.
Yes.
Oh, the irony.
Oh.
I know.
Yes.
Oh.
Well, Zerglings are going to roll in now, and honestly, there's not a lot here to defend for Salmosa. Very nice job reacting right away to wall off his ramp. Pulls his drones away. Unfortunately, a queen sacrifice for the greater good as his roaches catch back up. So, pretty good defense. He's always been on top of being very aware where his units are and making sure that he doesn't suffer as many losses as possible, with the exception, of course, of the massive baneling hits.
Yeah, I mean, when it's all said and done, Salmosa is still ahead in supply, right? Nerchio wasn't able to get that third base going, but by the same token, Nerchio had to put so many resources into defending that push that he wasn't really able to get the Mutalist count out that he wanted to, right? And that's exactly what Salmosa was trying to make happen with that. He's like, all right, if I make you defend this, you're going to need banelings. If you make a lot of banelings, you're going to have less Mutalisks. That'll give me time to defend it with queens, maybe a couple spores, be in a much better position to take my third cleared a little bit later on. And Nerchio, as you can see, going for that Roach Warren himself and the Infestation Pit. So again, like many ZVZs, just using the mutas to put his opponent a little bit off balance rather than to fully kind of dedicate himself to it.
You know, and it allowed him to even up the supply. He forced Salmosa to create so many Overlords and was supply blocked for so long that Nerchio is right back in it in that regard and is now sitting up one base, has an additional 17 workers. Of course, because of the time of the game, Salmosa is getting pretty low on his main. So things could go in Nerchio's favor quite a bit very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. This is such a crazy back and forth ZVZ. This entire series, man, has just been insane. But
yeah,
the ZVZs have been just so good. I mean, it's been like basically all we've had. Oh, I love this by Nerchio, too, using the Overseer to pick off creep tumors.
Because it looked like Salmosa was kind of going for the same thing we saw in the last game on Ohana.
Certainly
He's
looks that
produced
way.
a ton of queens. He's got an Infestation Pit coming up after this, so he can fall back on it, but wanted to be able to hit his queens right away. But as it stands, just one Spore Crawler here. A lot of Overlords are going to die, and the mutas are so fast they'll be able to get back and help defend.
Yeah, they certainly will. He's going to supply block Salmosa.Prime really badly, and this is interesting. This is something that we didn't see Bly do, right? He tried to defend this, and oh, look at this. He's got plenty of spines out and roaches. Big, big difference between this defense from Nerchio and the defense that we saw from our last Zerg player versus Salmosa.
That's right. So Salmosa is taking a lot of damage now. His attack force is being repelled, allowing the last few Spine Crawlers to pop up as well. All the while, these Mutalisks have just been causing massive damage back at home. I mean, Salmosa can do nothing but produce Overlords now. That's it. He has to win with this.
Now Nerchio, though, is going to need to worry a little bit because +2 missile attacks did just finish. Oh, but Salmosa, he's going to lose that Infestation Pit. He's got that big queen count. He's going to need to transfuse really, really well. The Infestation Pit goes down, and here comes the Queen Roach attack. Will it work a second game in a row?
Well, the Spine Crawlers are still up in force, and Nerchio continues to reinforce now. Of course, he's just sitting on the 1-1 upgrades to the 0-2, but of course, he's got quite good upgrades himself as well, and the numbers are just dwindling all the while for Salmosa down to just his queens, and Nerchio is going to put Acer just one game away from taking out Prime.
Absolute insanity right now. Acer on the verge of knocking Prime into the lower bracket in the first